Hey, have you ever gone water skiing or wakeboarding? I remember the first time I was gonna go, my buddy in the boat, he was telling me, hey, you're just gonna hold on to this rope, and when you feel the tension, you're just gonna pop up. The boat's gonna take you and you're gonna have a blast. And so there I was with eager expectation, holding on to this rope, wakeboard strapped to my feet, and he goes. And I realized after being dragged 50 yards underwater, I'm not popping up. Man, water is being forced into my face and I have to let go. Hey, I'm Scott Hoerner. I'm the 2535 life group pastor and the military life group pastor here at North Coast Church. Welcome to today's Daily Dose. In Hebrews chapter 6, Jesus is referred to as this anchor. And God sets this promise up to be an encouragement to you and me. And I love this illustration. It's one of my favorite illustrations in Scripture. And he says this in Hebrews chapter 6, verse 13, it says this, "For when God made a promise to Abraham, since he had no one greater by whom to swear, he swore by himself." And if you skip down to verse 18, it says, "So that by two unchangeable things, in which it is impossible for God to lie, we who have fled for refuge might have strong encouragement to hold fast to the hope set before us. For we have this as a sure and steadfast anchor of the soul, a hope that enters into the inner place behind the curtain, where Jesus has gone as a forerunner on our behalf." If you're familiar with kind of Bible history or Jewish culture and the Old Testament at all, then you'd be aware of, man, there was the Ark of the Covenant. It was the mercy seat of God. It's where God's presence dwelled. And they built this tabernacle, this big tent around this ark. And they had this curtain that separated the tabernacle, separated the ark from the rest of the tabernacle. And it was the most holy place, the Holy of Holies. And no one was allowed to go in there. That's where God dwelled. And only the high priest was able to go once a year. And in this passage, we see that Jesus is our hope that enters behind the curtain. Jesus is the one that plants himself in the mercy seat of God. Guys, relish in that for a second. We have this hope that we have a God who keeps his promises and never changes. And Jesus, God, don't miss that. Jesus, fully God, he goes and sits on the mercy seat and anchors us to himself. And what a promise. When you set an anchor and when you're boating, you have to drop your anchor, and you can drop it in mud or in sand or on rock. And you can anchor securely, pretty securely in mud or in sand, but the most secure anchor is one that is dropped perfectly placed on bedrock. And Jesus perfectly anchors us to himself. And so when tension happens, which you need to do to really test an anchor, you need to back up your boat, you push the throttle in reverse, and you set that anchor. And an anchor that is set firmly isn't gonna go anywhere. And so often I think that we have to hold on to this anchor. That Jesus, he sets it on the bedrock, the firm foundation, he himself, and we have to hold on to Jesus for all it's worth, but we don't. See, Jesus is holding on to us. And Jesus, unlike me who gets tired and I had to let go of that rope, even when I stand up and I ride that wake and I'm having a blast, even then I get tired and I let go. God never gets tired. He never lets go. Let that be an encouragement to you this morning. Let that be an encouragement to your week. And whatever you're doing, you have a God who never lets go of you and is unchanging. Hey, see you next time, Dosers. Thanks for being with us.